What are you fighting over? Trying to marry my mom first? It's been 3 years. Your mom treats me like a maid and you've been messing around behind my back. Don't think I don't know. So what? Without the Jiang group, you're nothing. Fine, Jiang Tingchuan, just you wait. I walked into the study and turned on an old phone hidden deep inside the cabinet. 7 years ago, I was the youngest luxury leather goods designer in the industry. At 24, I won a major European newcomer award, and my first limited edition bag stunned everyone at auction. Then Jiang Tingchuan held my hand and said he didn't want me spending every day around leather and machines. He promised me a home where all I had to do was enjoy life. I believed him. I disappeared from the public eye, hid my name, and became the shadow behind the Jiang group. Everyone praised his vision, never knowing every Jiang product came from my sketches. On the phone was an email sent from Paris 7 years ago. It came from Selena, Levia Group's global creative director and the mentor who first brought me into the industry. The email said only one thing. Whenever you're ready to come back, I'll always be waiting. I stared at that 7-year-old email for a long time before finally typing a reply. I accept the offer. I'll report to Paris next week. 3 days before leaving, I went to the office for my visa documents. The moment I entered the CEO's office, a wedding poster on his desk caught my eye. Jiang Tingchuan and Tang Weiwei were embracing like newlyweds. Below their photo, gold letters read, Groom Jiang Tingchuan, Bride Tang Weiwei. Who told you to touch what's on my desk? He rushed over and snatched the poster away. His panic was so obvious that his cuff even scraped the edge of the desk. It was sitting right there. I only came for my documents. The company is shooting a Valentine's Day campaign. It's just an unfinished concept. Don't overthink it. Relax, I don't care what kind of relationship you two have. I picked up my documents and left. He didn't know I meant every word. From that moment on, even if the whole world saw their wedding, it had nothing to do with me. The night before I left, I was collecting my daughter's dried dresses from the balcony when I heard Jiang Tingchuan calling Tang Weiwei in the garden below. Replace everything with lilies of the valley and white tulips. You said you like clean colors. I want you to see a sea of flowers the moment you arrive. Don't ask about the budget. Whatever makes you happy is worth it. I gripped the hanger so tightly my knuckles turned white. 7 years ago, when we registered our marriage, he'd promised me a garden full of lilies of the valley and tulips. Later, he blamed work, money, and projects until the promise disappeared. It wasn't that he couldn't do it. He just didn't think I was worth it. I quietly went back inside, closed the glass door, and drew the heavy curtains. From that moment on, his voice could no longer reach my world. At the next day's product meeting, Jiang Tingchuan announced in front of every executive and craftsman that next season's finale collection, Homecoming, would be credited to Tang Weiwei. The room went silent. Every longtime employee knew I'd spent 3 years and revised over 100 drafts for Homecoming. I'd created it for our 7th anniversary to tell him that no matter how far I went, he was still my home. You're really removing my name from the entire collection? Weiwei is younger and understands today's customers better. Your designs are too restrained and old-fashioned. Nobody wants that now. Enjoy Paris. I'll make it up to you when you get back. Don't take it personally. Tingchuan only thought your sketches had potential, so he's letting me turn them into something people will actually buy. When it becomes a hit, I won't forget your early drafts. Fine, it's yours. But this project is heavy. You'd better hold on tight. If you drop it, your foot won't be the only thing getting crushed. After the meeting, I went to clean out my studio. Tang Weiwei followed in wearing heels and carrying an unreleased limited edition Jiang crocodile pattern bag. She deliberately rested her left hand on the handle, making the thick gold ring on her finger impossible to miss. Tingchuan said diamonds were tacky, so he had a matching pair made from pure gold. Congratulations, I hope you two stay together forever. Her smile froze. She clearly hadn't expected that reaction. I didn't give her another chance to speak. I picked up my things and walked out. She had no idea Homecoming was only 70% complete. The 3D patterns, handle load data, and lock mold specs existed only in my head. What she'd stolen wasn't a finished product. It was an empty shell with no skeleton. That night, I made Jiang Tingchuan's favorite chestnut chicken and mushroom soup. Mom, you made so much food today. Did something good happen? I stroked her hair and said nothing. This was the last meal I'd ever cook for Jiang Tingchuan. After tonight, 7 years of love and compromise would finally end. For once, Jiang Tingchuan came home on time. After tasting the soup, he casually said, "This is pretty good. Make it again when you get back from Paris." I didn't answer. I just served my daughter more food. He had no idea there would be no next time for us. After dinner, he took his phone out to the balcony. Mom, Dad's smiling. I haven't seen him that happy in forever. I walked closer and heard his lowered voice through the crack in the door. If the ring fits, don't change it. Make the wedding exactly how you want it. You're the woman I love most. I won't let you suffer even a little. I turned into the kitchen and opened the faucet all the way. The rushing water drowned out the sob caught in my throat. Don't be sad, Mom. Someday Xiaoman will make you the prettiest bag ever. I crouched down and hugged my daughter tightly, tears falling into her soft hair. But this time, I stopped lying to myself. Late that night, Jiang Tingquan reached for my waist in his sleep like always. Tang Weiwei's sweet perfume clung to him. My stomach turned. I peeled his fingers away one by one and took my pillow to the guest room. I locked the door and sat alone in the dark until sunrise. The day I left, I took only my sketches and Xiaoman's clothes and toys. I left every expensive gift Jiang Tingquan had ever used to buy me off. Jiang Tingquan, I don't want to go to Paris anymore. Wen Xinyan, I don't have time for another tantrum. The hotel and tickets are booked. Whatever it is, we'll talk when you get back. What if I stay and spend our anniversary with you? The driver's outside go. His answer cut like a knife, severing the last bit of hope I still had. At the airport, Xiaoman hugged my leg and looked up at Jiang Tingquan, who never stopped replying to messages. Dad, you're really not coming with us? I'll come get you when I'm done with work. Listen to Mom in Paris and don't run around. Relax and enjoy Paris. Then he pushed a black credit card into my hand. You're my wife. I'll never treat you badly. I slipped the card back into his suit pocket, refusing his handout for the first time. Jiang Tingquan, goodbye. He thought that goodbye meant we'd meet again soon. Only I knew what I really meant. I never wanted to see him again in this lifetime. During the 12-hour flight, the plane hit several patches of turbulence, and Xiaoman never let go of my hand. Mom, those houses outside look like the ones in my books. Are we there? We are. This is Paris. Then when are we going home? I looked at the gray-blue sky outside the window and paused. From now on, wherever Mom is, that's home. From the day we got married, I'd trapped myself in Linjiang for Jiang Tingquan for 7 years. This was the first time I'd truly left the city without planning a return date. The automatic doors opened, and crisp, late-autumn Paris air rushed toward us. In the crowd, I spotted Selena immediately. She wore a sharp charcoal trench coat and carried an old leather bag she'd used for years. It was the first piece I'd ever given her when I was 23. 7 years. You made me wait 7 whole years. I'm sorry I came back too late. You're back. That's what matters. As long as you're willing to pick up a pencil again, it's not too late. She noticed Xiaoman crouch down and pulled a small box from her bag. I stood in line this morning for these caramel cream puffs. Would this pretty little guest like to be my friend? Thank you, Aunt Selena. Your bag is so pretty. Did my mom make it? Yes. It was the first bag your mom ever gave me, and it's still my favorite. Jiang Tingquan treated my designs like disposable gifts. Yet thousands of miles away, someone had treasured one of my earliest pieces for years. For the first time, the weight on my chest began to lift. The car left the airport as highways gave way to old stone buildings. After finishing her cream puff, Xiaoman quickly fell asleep in her child's seat. The board and craft committee are waiting. Today's meeting was pushed back 2 hours for you. Master artisans even came from southern France to see how much edge that young genius from 7 years ago still has. I won't disappoint them. I spent 7 years without a byline, not without designing. Jiang Tingquan took my name, but he could never take my hands. The car stopped at a century-old gray building at the end of Rue Saint-Honoré. It was Levia's luxury leather headquarters, marked only by an old brass emblem representing world-class craftsmanship. Take Xiaoman upstairs, get her warm milk and some snacks, and put away anything sharp. Mom has a meeting. Stay with this nice lady for a while, okay? Don't wander off. Go, Mom, I'll be good. I followed Selena through the leather archive. Climate-controlled glass cases displayed rare hides, old sketches, and handmade locks preserved by the workshop for a century. Young designers stopped working as I passed. Some recognized my face. Others only knew the name that had disappeared 7 years ago. 7 years is long enough for an industry to forget a designer, but not long enough to erase someone who truly left a mark. The heavy double doors opened. Executives, structural designers, and master artisans filled both sides of the table. No one made small talk. Every eye studied whether I was still a genius or just an old name. Good afternoon. I'm Wen Xinyan. I'll skip the formalities. I came back today with one collection. Please judge the work for yourselves. The giant screen lit up. A restrained handbag slowly rotated with razor-clean lines, subtle hardware, intricate understated texture, and a floating two-way clasp at its center. I clicked to the next slide. The internal structure, leather sections, handle stress points, and lock cross-section appeared one by one. This design took me 3 years. Until yesterday, it had another name, Homecoming. I looked at the name that once carried all my hopes and felt absolutely nothing. But I don't need a place to return to anymore, and I won't stop for anyone again. From today on, this collection is officially renamed Metamorphosis. The structural drawing zoomed in. There wasn't one unnecessary seam. Hidden folds created volume, while an invisible load-bearing frame reinforced the handles. The fuller the bag became, the more stable its shape stayed. Most unique was the two-way clasp. Instead of a standard mechanism, 2 ultra-thin metal tabs interlocked, opening and closing seamlessly. The room grew so quiet that only the projector could be heard. At first, everyone simply stared. Then several structural designers sat up straight, and the leather development executive even removed his glasses and leaned toward the enlarged drawings. One master artisan stared for 2 seconds, took off his glasses, and slapped the table. "Beautiful! You actually solved one of handbag's hardest problems, load distortion." I said it 7 years ago. Wen was never a flash in the pan. She was only hiding her edge. Applause started at the end of the table and swept through the entire room. With no objections from craftsmanship, I officially announced Metamorphosis as next month's Paris luxury show finale. Effective today, Wen Xinyan becomes Levia's global chief creative designer. The applause wasn't fake flattery. No one measured my worth in gifts or money. Here, design was talent. My work couldn't be erased because I was someone's wife, and it didn't need another person's name to be seen. What belonged to me was mine. Outside the windows, the clouds parted, and the Eiffel Tower emerged in the sunlight. Only then did I realize Wen Xinyan's life had truly begun again. After the meeting, Selena took me to a private styling room upstairs. Next month's show needed a teaser campaign, and the brand team wanted to finalize my new image. I stared at the woman in the mirror. Soft colors, waist-length hair. 7 years ago, Zhang Tingquan had said he disliked strong women. Long hair, light makeup, and soft clothes were what a gentle wife should look like. So I gave up sharp tailoring and the short hair I loved, choosing to become his background. I called it love. Looking back, I'd simply turned myself into someone I didn't even like. "Ms. Wen, we can keep your long hair for the campaign and just add some layers. What do you think?" "Don't keep it." "You mean cut it?" "I like short hair." "You want all of this cut off?" At this point, suppressing myself would be the real waste. The scissors snapped shut. Locks of dark hair fell around my feet like every humiliation, stolen credit, and year I'd spent trapped in that house. I felt no regret and never looked back. Slowly, the mirror revealed the woman I'd hidden for 7 years. Selena took an unreleased Metamorphosis sample from the display and placed it before me. Now that's the Wen I remember. I picked up the bag and chose a deep burgundy lipstick. As the bold color touched my lips, the woman in the mirror stopped looking obedient and stopped waiting for anyone's love. "Zhang Tingquan, the Wen Xinyan you liked, stayed behind in Linjiang. From now on, I'm only going to be myself." Sunlight covered Paris rooftops and the Eiffel Tower shone in the distance. I walked out carrying my own creation. After Metamorphosis, Wen Xinyan's life was only beginning. Meanwhile, Linjiang was hosting the wedding of the century. Jiang Tingquan rented an entire lakeside estate and covered it in lilies of the valley and white tulips, the garden he'd promised me 7 years ago. Let us witness the wedding of Mr. Zhang and Ms. Tang. After years of love and countless obstacles, they finally reached this day. Guests raised their glasses, praising Zhang Tingquan's devotion and envying Tang Weiwei's grand wedding. Nobody knew this devoted groom already had a wife of 7 years. His biological daughter was also thousands of miles away. Xiaomin was watching cartoons when a domestic news alert suddenly appeared on her tablet. "Mom, come look, Dad's on TV." I walked over with fruit. On screen, Zhang Tingquan stood in a flower-covered estate wearing a black tuxedo, lowering his head to kiss Tang Weiwei. Didn't Dad say he was too busy at work to even call us? Why does he have time for that mean lady? Seeing my daughter's confused, hurt eyes stung my heart. This time, I wouldn't lie for Zhang Tingquan or let Xiaomin keep hoping for a father who had never truly put her first. "Xiaomin, Dad is like the clasp on your little wallet. It still looks shiny outside, but inside, it's already broken. Can broken things be fixed? Some things can. Some only hurt you more the more you try. If it's broken, we don't have to keep it. Then throw it away. My teacher says broken clasps can cut your hand. I don't want it." I hugged my daughter. Even a 5-year-old understood you shouldn't cling to something already broken. It had taken me 7 years to learn the same lesson. The wedding banquet had barely begun when Tang Weiwei rushed back to the workshop still wearing her train. After showing off at the wedding, she wanted everyone to know she was both Mrs. Jiang and Homecoming's lead designer. Master Liang, how far along is my sample? The public preview is next month. Don't tell me you haven't even started. The veteran craftsman stopped working. Master Liang removed his goggles and looked up. He had over 30 years in luxury leather craftsmanship and was Jiang Group's highly paid chief artisan. Even Jiang Tingquan himself always addressed him respectfully as Master Liang. Director Tang, perfect timing. We can't continue from these drawings. How does the gusset fold? How many support layers go underneath? What's the handle load? What size is the clasp mold? It's all blank. Tang Weiwei stared at the drawings, understanding none of it. Her old job had been attending parties with Jiang Tingquan and delivering files. She thought handbag design meant drawing a pretty shape and choosing expensive leather. Master Liang flipped through the drawings twice, then examined them under a magnifier. There were still no usable production notes. But Tang Weiwei had just enjoyed a glamorous wedding and now carried the lead designer title. Even without understanding a word, she'd never admit she didn't know what she was doing. There's no main leather thickness, skiving range, stitch spacing, or edge paint layers. Nothing. How are we supposed to make this? You're highly paid craftsman. Why are you asking me about tiny details like that? I gave you the drawings. Fill in the rest yourselves. Fill them in ourselves. Director Tang, this bag is going to an international exhibition. 1 millimeter off and the clasp won't close. Get the load calculation wrong and the handle could snap. The workshop fell silent. Everyone waited for the so-called lead designer to answer. Tang Weiwei had none. She simply clenched her wedding dress and treated every question as an insult to the new Mrs. Jiang. I gave you the concept. The concept is the most valuable part. Do I have to teach you everything myself? What is the company paying you for? Master Liang's face darkened. After a long pause, he said, Fine. You're the lead designer. We'll do exactly what you say. Thinking she'd intimidated them, Tang Weiwei lifted her chin. I want the full sample set by the end of the month. Anyone who delays the preview loses this quarter's bonus. She swept out of the workshop in her wedding dress. The moment the glass door closed, Master Liang slammed his metal ruler onto the table. You heard her. We're supposed to fill it in ourselves, make the clasp oversized and the handles thin, make it as ugly as possible. When inspection comes, let's see who she tries to blame. The younger craftsmen exchanged uneasy looks. They couldn't deliberately ruin it, but without drawings or data, all they could do was keep experimenting from experience. For half a month, batches of premium leather were wasted and failed samples piled under the tables. Tang Weiwei never came to solve a single problem. She only called to demand faster progress. Half a month passed quickly. Early winter wind swept through Paris, covering the stone streets with golden leaves. I sat upstairs by a cafe window with a double espresso, no sugar. It was my first bitter coffee in 7 years. Jiang Tingquan always said drinks like that made women seem too intense and hurt the stomach. So I'd replaced coffee with sweet hot milk and convinced myself I hated bitterness. Only now did I realize I didn't hate bitter coffee. I hated being the woman who needed someone else's approval even to choose a drink. For the main metamorphosis bag, change the black lining to smoky gray lambskin. Replace the gold clasp with cool silver. Your eye is still ruthless. Black grounds the leather grain, while the cool silver sharpens the structure. Senior artisans gathered around the work table, carefully checking my patterns and structural drawings. Some tested leather recovery, others repeatedly tested the clasp. No one cut corners. Their eyes held only trust and respect. Nobody asked whose wife I was or treated me like a trophy dependent on a man. Here, I wasn't Mrs. Jiang or anyone's hidden shadow. I was Wen Xinyan, the sole designer of metamorphosis. On the soft rug by the window, Xiaoman built a little house from scraps of colored leather. After half a month away from Linjiang, she was visibly happier. Color returned to her face, and she laughed more. She'd even learned a few simple French phrases and practiced them every day with the women in the studio. Mom, it's so pretty here. Can we live here from now on? Yes, from now on, this is our home. Yay, everyone here likes Mom and nobody breaks the things Xiaoman makes. I smiled and hugged her. Life felt peaceful and full. Even breathing no longer carried the suffocating weight of that villa in Linjiang. Meanwhile, storm clouds hung over Linjiang. Jiang Group executives filled the top-floor conference room for the internal inspection of the homecoming samples, which would decide whether the next launch could proceed. The group had already spent tens of millions on the preview, ad placements, buyer seats, and overseas exhibition deposits. If the samples failed, far more than one collection would be lost. Fresh from his honeymoon, Jiang Tingquan entered smiling. Tang Weiwei followed close behind, already acting like the true lady of the company. She tossed a jewel-covered limited bag onto the table. Everything she wore was newly purchased luxury, and she made sure the gold ring on her finger stayed clearly visible. In the corner, the artisans looked exhausted. For half a month, Tang Weiwei changed materials one day, and dimensions the next, threatening anyone who objected. In the end, Master Liang had no choice but to build what she demanded. Stop wasting time, start the inspection. Mrs. Zhang personally designed Homecoming. It's definitely going to be the biggest hit of the year. Director Tang is young and has incredible taste. Zhang Group is going to steal the show internationally this year. Oh, don't praise me too much. I just have a little more natural talent than most people. I only changed a few things. Master Liang sat stone-faced in the corner. At Zhang Tingchuan's signal, the lights dimmed and several staff members slowly rolled in a black display platform. The second the velvet cloth came off the sample, every compliment died. Everyone stared at the display. The room became completely silent. The executives who'd been praising Tang Weiwei moments earlier froze. Some pretended to organize papers. Others quietly pushed their chairs back, hoping Zhang Tingchuan wouldn't notice them. That's really Homecoming? I designed a refined, lightweight luxury handbag. Somehow, it had become a wide, bulky, bright gold sack. The original millimeter-perfect curves were gone. One side of the opening sat higher than the other, and the front stitching twisted like a worm crawling across the leather. Tang Weiwei thought imported calfskin looked too subtle, so she replaced it with stiff synthetic patent leather. Under the lights, the cheap shine was blinding. She'd also replaced the crucial hidden side gussets with two protruding leather flaps, making the bag look like it had drooping ears. Worse, she wanted it to look expensive, so she added 3 full rings of gems around the clasp. The restrained luxury design now looked like a cheap plastic giveaway from a mall promotion. The gems didn't even have proper structural mounts. As the platform moved, they dropped onto the marble table one after another, creating a painfully awkward clatter. Zhang Tingchuan's smile slowly vanished. His expression darkened. Pick it up. A staff member put on white gloves and carefully lifted the bag. The moment it left the table, both sides sagged. The test weight slid to one side, leaving the entire bag crooked. Without enough internal support, the bag bulged within seconds. The gold patent leather wrinkled everywhere. It was painful to look at. You overloaded it. Who puts that much stuff in a normal handbag? It's only 2 kilograms of test weight, Director Tang. We already reduced it according to your instructions. Before she could answer, a tearing sound came from the handle joint. The gold handle snapped, the bag slammed onto the display, the clasp flew off, and everything inside spilled across the floor. The rough lining burst through the tear with dried glue still hanging from the edges. It looked like a pile of rags. Gasps filled the room. Everyone knew this couldn't go to an international exhibition. Putting it in a regular Zhang store would destroy the brand's reputation. This is your talent? The company spent tens of millions and you made me this garbage bag? Tang Weiwei went pale. She knew nothing about leather design and never imagined her random commands could create something this awful. Even now, instead of admitting fault, she immediately looked for someone else to blame. Tingchuan, why are you yelling at me? My drawings were fine. The workshop got lazy and ruined the result. Director Tang, be fair. The drawings were only 70% complete. Every critical measurement was blank. Whenever we asked, you told us to make it up. You forced us to use fake leather and gems. Everyone here knows why it failed. It was Wen Xinyan. It had to be. She's jealous I married you. She hid the data before leaving because she wanted us to fail. Her story made no sense, yet Zhang Tingchuan believed it. In his mind, I was still the woman who couldn't leave him and would lower my head after a few gifts. He'd rather blame me than admit he'd misjudged Tang Weiwei. I knew she wouldn't leave that easily. She's only doing this to force me to beg her home. Wen Xinyan has always loved making scenes just to get my attention. He pulled out his phone and called me. In my Paris studio, soft music played as I checked a clasp prototype. Suddenly, my phone started vibrating. Beside me, artisans carefully tested a new clasp, recording every measurement. The clean clicks couldn't have been more different from that ridiculous inspection in Linjiang. Zhang Tingchuan flashed across my screen. Once, that name could shake my entire mood. Now, I felt absolutely nothing. Wen, want me to answer it for you? No, I actually want to hear what he has to say. The moment I answered, Zhang Tingchuan's angry voice came through. Wen Xinyan, are you done throwing your tantrum? Across the world, he placed the phone in the middle of the conference table and turned on speaker. Tang Weiwei and the executives waited smugly for the old, obedient me to apologize. Wen Xinyan, are you done? You have the missing structural patterns and class data for Homecoming, don't you? The public preview is next month. Email me everything immediately. Zhang Tingchuan, who exactly do you think you're ordering around? I clearly wrote that Homecoming was only 70% complete. Didn't your brilliant director Tang say she could turn my design into a real bestseller? What happened? Is her masterpiece so impressive, even you can't stand looking at it? The other end went silent. He'd probably never imagined the woman who once feared contradicting him would speak that way. Through the speakerphone, every executive heard me clearly. Zhang Tingchuan paused, probably embarrassed in front of everyone. When he spoke again, his tone became even harsher. Xinyan, there's a limit to your tantrums. Homecoming is the group's biggest project this year, not something you use to get my attention. Organize the data and email it to me. When you come back, I'll have that couture evening gown you like delivered home. I'll buy you a few cases of makeup too. I'll let this incident go. Ridiculous. To him, 3 years of my work, stolen credit, and trampled dignity could all be bought back with clothes and makeup. He didn't even see it as compensation. He saw it as a favor. Zhang Tingchuan, do you not understand English? Keep your junk for Tang Weiwei. Maybe enroll her in Leather Goods 101 so she can at least learn which side is the bottom. You gave her Homecoming. Fix your own mess and stop bothering me. I hung up, blocked his number, and deleted every contact connection we had. Then I placed my phone face down and went back to work without a ripple of emotion. The Linjiang conference room was dead silent. The disconnected tone sounded painfully loud. Everyone stared down, too afraid to look at Jiang Tingchuan. They'd heard everything. Wen Xinyan, who used to stay silent in meetings and obey Jiang Tingchuan with one word, had insulted him publicly and hung up on him. Tingchuan, listen to her attitude. She ruined the project and still humiliates us? She's doing this on purpose. Shut up! Tang Weiwei froze at the disgust in his eyes. Jiang Tingchuan frowned deeply. Things were slipping from his control. For the first time, the obedient woman he'd always controlled made him panic. Find out exactly what Wen Xinyan is doing in Paris, where she's staying, and who she's seen. Miss nothing. Pull every bank transaction under her name and freeze all supplementary black cards. Go now. The assistant hurried out. Jiang Tingchuan leaned back, regaining confidence. She'd stayed home for 7 years without earning a cent. Paris was expensive. A housewife couldn't possibly afford it. Once I freeze the cards, I won't even need to find her. She'll come crying back to me. He smirked, already imagining me begging. Less than 10 minutes later, the conference room door opened again. The assistant rushed in holding a tablet, looking like she'd seen something impossible. Mr. Zhang, we checked. None of Ms. Wen's cards, including your highest tier supplementary card, have had a single charge in the last 2 weeks. Not one. After landing, how did she pay for the hotel, food, and transportation? The room went quiet. The hotel you booked was canceled and refunded the day she arrived. The money went back to the company account. The hotel confirmed she never checked in. His anger slowly froze into real panic. She wasn't spending his money or staying in his hotel. That meant from the moment my plane took off, I'd already escaped his control. Impossible. Where could she go in Paris with a child? All we know is she got into a business van at the airport. It's registered to a major international group. We can't access anything else. Zhang Tingchuan shoved his chair back so hard it hit the wall. He grabbed his keys and stormed out without even looking at the crying Tang Weiwei. His private elevator dropped straight down. He rushed to his red Ferrari, yanked open the door, and tore out of the garage. Midday sun burned through the windshield as the Ferrari weaved through traffic. His palms were covered in cold sweat. My words, "Stop bothering me," kept repeating in his mind. Wen Xinyan, what the hell are you trying to do? Traffic was jammed, but he never slowed down. Cameras flashed, cars braked, and horns blared as he sped through. A drive that normally took over 20 minutes took him half that time. The Ferrari roared into the garden and stopped beside the fountain, crushing several tulips he'd once promised to care for with me. White petals fell beneath the tires and disappeared into the dirt. He didn't even shut the car door before rushing to the villa. The fingerprint lock beeped and the front door slowly opened. There were no footsteps coming to greet him and no Xiaoman calling daddy. The villa was so quiet it felt abandoned. Wen Xinyan! No one answered. Only his own voice echoed through the empty living room. No matter how late he came home, Xiaoman used to run barefoot to hug his leg, while I'd bring him warm soup from the kitchen. Now the couch didn't even have a wrinkle. There were no crayons or toys on the coffee table. He rushed into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. Empty. The stomach-soothing soup, handmade snacks, and meals I always prepared were gone. He finally realized this wasn't a home temporarily empty for 2 weeks. It had been completely cleared out. Impossible, Wen Xinyan, you can't be this heartless. He ran upstairs and opened the walk-in closet. Expensive handbags, jewelry, and designer clothes still filled the cabinets untouched. Many gifts hadn't even been opened. These were the things he thought I wanted most, the compensation he gave whenever he hurt me. Every expensive gift remained. I hadn't taken a single one. But the small section that belonged to me was empty. Every cheap old outfit he'd called embarrassing was gone. The expensive gifts stayed. Everything truly mine left with me. Only then did he understand I'd never cared about his so-called compensation, and I'd never stayed because of his money. He stumbled into Xiaomin's room. Her favorite picture books were gone, along with the stuffed toy she slept with every night. Her crafts and photos had been removed from the walls, leaving only faint marks. The little wallet he'd kicked apart was gone, along with every picture she'd repeatedly drawn for him. Xiaomin, don't you love Daddy anymore? His eyes stopped on the nightstand. Their only family photo used to sit there. The frame remained, but the picture was gone. Blank glass reflected his miserable face. He returned to the master bedroom. The expensive jewelry he'd bought me remained perfectly arranged, but my old wooden comb was gone. With trembling fingers, he opened the bottom drawer. A tiny velvet jewelry box appeared. He recognized it. With his first project payment, he'd bought us simple gold rings and promised that once he had money, he'd replace mine with the best. I'd cried with happiness all night. Years later, he bought countless expensive gifts, yet somehow forgot that one promise. He opened the box. The wedding ring I'd worn for 7 years lay quietly inside. You don't even want our wedding ring anymore? Several folded papers sat underneath. Their edges showed how tightly I'd once gripped them. Before signing, I'd struggled too. He pulled them out and saw 4 bold words: divorce agreement. The terms were simple. I wanted no villa, cars, expensive gifts, or financial compensation. My only request was custody of Xiaoman. On the final page, Wen Xinyan was written cleanly and firmly in the lower right corner, without hesitation. Only then did he realize Paris wasn't a vacation or an attempt to force him to apologize. I'd already chosen to leave him. The plane ticket was merely the final step. Impossible! Wen Xinyan, how dare you? You're Jiang Tingquan's wife, you can't do this? He called my number over and over. Once, twice, 3 times. The same cold recording answered every call. We're sorry. The number you dialed is no longer in service. Wen Xinyan, answer me. He tried several different numbers, but every call returned the same message. Suddenly, he remembered my final look at the airport. Jiang Tingquan, goodbye. He'd thought I was sulking. Now he understood it had been my final farewell. I don't believe it. I don't believe you'd really never come back. The electronic lock sounded downstairs, followed by heels. Tang Weiwei returned carrying shopping bags, while her assistant followed with boxes of new clothes. While Jiang Group faced disaster, she'd spent the entire day shopping at luxury stores with his supplementary card. Tingquan, look what I bought. There are only 10 of these bags worldwide. I waited forever. She looked up and stopped. Jiang Tingquan sat on the stairs with his tie loose, eyes bloodshot, gripping the divorce papers. Tingquan, why are you sitting on the floor? It's freezing. She dropped her bags and hurried upstairs to help him up. It's just one bad sample. Why get this angry? Master Liang and the others are jealous. They made it ugly on purpose to embarrass me. Fire them and hire new people. Jiang Tingquan looked at her flawless makeup, then at the expensive shopping bags downstairs. His stomach turned. What gives you the right? Tingquan, you're hurting me. Homecoming is Jiang Group's biggest project this year. You don't even know what structural patterns are or why the handle broke, and you still dare talk like that? You're treating me like this because of Wen Xinyan? She left us with a mess and ran away. What was I supposed to do? Shut up! He used to find Tang Weiwei young, cute, and exciting. Now, looking at her foolish expression, he only felt disgust. Do you know how much the company has riding on this show? If it's canceled, overseas buyers pull out and investors withdraw. Our cash flow collapses, and Jiang Group owes 1 billion yuan in penalties. How will your garbage pay that? The billion yuan number stunned Tang Weiwei. She'd thought an international exhibition meant wearing a gown, carrying a handbag, and taking pretty photos. Only now did she realize how much damage her random commands had caused. Tingquan, I didn't know it was this serious. Wen Xinyan set me up. Make her come back and fix it. You were first in line to steal her work. Now that it's a disaster, you want Xinyan to come clean up after you? I was wrong. I won't do it again. Tingquan, save me. Jiang Tingquan looked down at her with pure disgust and pulled his leg away. Take what you bought and get out. Now. This is our home. I'm the wife you just married. Where am I supposed to go? Enough. Wen Xinyan is my wife and the real Mrs. Jiang. You think you compare? If tomorrow's preview fails, you'll pay every cent of the loss. Crying won't make this disappear. Tang Weiwei turned pale and fled the villa with one shoe missing, leaving all her new purchases behind. Jiang Tingquan stood alone, holding the gold ring and divorce papers. Xinyan, when I find you, you'd better give me an explanation. Standing in the empty villa, he remembered 7 years earlier. Jiang Group was new and unstable when a partner suddenly ran off with all its cash. Suppliers demanded payment, and employees went months without salaries. He locked himself in his office for 3 days. I sold the old apartment my mother left me and transferred every cent to Jiang Group, calming the suppliers and employees. I left 1-year-old Xiaoman with family and spent 3 days in an unheated basement studio wrapped in an old blanket. My first snow collection won an 80 million yuan European order and pulled Jiang Group back from collapse. After the company survived, I asked for no shares or public credit. Jiang Tingquan hugged me and said, "We're husband and wife. What's mine is yours. When the company stabilizes, I'll make you the happiest woman alive." I remembered his stomach hurt after business dinners and kept soup warm every night. Now the kitchen was cold, his daughter was gone, and the woman who survived his hardest years had left him too. 3 days before the international preview, Jiang Group's lobby was packed with investment representatives. Security couldn't contain them. "If the samples fail, cancel the preview. Jiang Group owes us answers." Documents covered the CEO's desk. On top was a stack of resignations from the craftsmanship department. Master Liang and several core artisans stood before him, all looking grim. "Master Liang, the company is at its lowest point. If you take everyone and leave now, are you trying to kill Jiang Group?" "Mr. Jiang, we're not killing Jiang Group, you and Tang Weiwei are. With Ms. Wen, we made award-winning work. Now someone clueless gives orders and produces trash. You destroy the reputation we've built for 30 years. Master Liang walked out and the other artisans followed. Jiang Tingquan couldn't stop them. Phones rang non-stop. Investors withdrew, partners canceled orders, and Jiang Group fell into chaos. Across the world, night fell over Paris. Giant screens around the Eiffel Tower went black, then glowing French lettering slowly appeared. The image changed to me in a black gown, short hair moving in the wind, holding the metamorphosis bag with its striking clasp. People stopped and raised their phones. Many recognized me and gasped. The name that had vanished 7 years ago lit up Paris again that night. I stood on a terrace overlooking the glowing Eiffel Tower, while crowds below continued staring at the giant screens. All of Paris is talking about your comeback. By tomorrow morning, your name will be everywhere again. This is only the beginning. 7 years ago, I buried my own name. Now I'll take it back with my own hands. Everyone will know Wen Xinyan never disappeared. Popularity has no borders. Within an hour, the campaign reached China, and related topics shot to the top of every platform. Isn't that the designer who was always hidden behind Jiang Group? So she's Wen Xinyan, the award-winning genius from 7 years ago, spent all these years ghost designing for Jiang Group? Did Jiang Group seriously steal her drawings and then fail because they couldn't finish them? Questions flooded Jiang Group's official accounts. Everyone demanded answers from Jiang Tingquan, and the market reacted even faster. Within 30 minutes of opening, Jiang Group's stock plunged. Investors who'd been waiting finally lost patience, and withdrawal notices poured into the CEO's office. "Mr. Jiang, Paris just issued an official announcement. You should see this yourself." Jiang Tingquan stared at my face on screen. He'd seen it for 7 years. Yet now I had sharp, short hair and stood before a global luxury brand, looking almost like a stranger. Impossible. She only drew a few things at home. How could she be Levia's global chief designer? Levia officially announced Ms. Wen's appointment. Metamorphosis was also confirmed as her independent work and will close the Paris show in 3 days. Only then did Jiang Tingquan understand. I hadn't gone to Paris waiting for him to take me home. I'd gone to reclaim the position that had always been mine. "Book a ticket, the fastest flight to Paris, now." The office door flew open. Tang Weiwei stumbled inside with messy hair and coffee stains on her clothes, looking nothing like the glamorous bride from before. "Tingquan, those people downstairs have gone crazy. They're demanding money and blaming everything on me. Help me." Jiang Tingquan didn't even look at her. He grabbed his keys and the jewelry box containing the gold ring and headed for the door. "Tingquan, where are you going? You can't leave. What about the preview? What about the billion yuan?" He looked at the tear-streaked woman. The childish whining he'd once found cute now looked like nothing but stupidity and greed. "You still dare mention the preview? You want to take that garbage to Paris and humiliate Jiang Group worldwide? If you hadn't stolen Homecoming and driven Master Liang away, would we be in this mess?" "I was wrong, I really was. Call Xinyan and ask her to come save the company, okay? You don't get to call her Xinyan. You stole her work, lived in her house, and pretended to be Mrs. Jiang. Who do you think you are?" Tang Weiwei froze, unable to answer. Jiang Tingquan walked straight into the elevator without looking back. His Ferrari passed Linjiang's biggest shopping plaza, where my Paris campaign played across a giant screen. He stared at my glowing image through the window and gripped the steering wheel tightly. Wen Xinyan, when I get to Paris, you're explaining everything to my face. At the airport, departure hall, jet bridge, and inside the plane, nearly every news screen showed coverage of my comeback. Genius designer Wen Xinyan returns to Paris with Metamorphosis, a comeback that could reshape the global luxury industry. Zhang Tingquan put on noise-canceling headphones, but couldn't silence his thoughts. He'd always believed I was a housewife living off him, satisfied by a few gifts. Now that arrogance seemed ridiculous. When his plane landed, the Paris show was entering its grand finale. The front row was filled with top global buyers, collectors, and fashion media. The lights dimmed as everyone waited for Levia's most important piece of the year. A spotlight appeared. A model in a black gown walked onto the stage carrying a handbag with no unnecessary decoration. Its silhouette stayed crisp in motion as the cool silver two-way clasp opened and closed with a clean click. Buyers sat up. Reporters raised their cameras. Even famously picky master craftsmen leaned toward the runway for a closer look. I watched from backstage as Metamorphosis stunned the room. I'd spent 3 years on it. In Linjiang, it was homecoming, carrying my final hopes for my marriage. Now it belonged only to me. Mom, you look so pretty today, even prettier than on TV. Our Xiaoman is pretty too. There are lots of people outside. Are you scared? With Mom here, Xiaoman isn't scared of anything. I took my daughter's hand and walked toward center stage through thunderous applause. This was my glory. After 7 years trapped in that villa, I was finally standing in the spotlight again. Suddenly, a commotion broke out at the entrance. Stop him! He doesn't have an invitation! Zhang Tingquan shoved past security and forced his way inside. His handmade suit tore during the struggle, his tie hung crooked, and the once arrogant CEO of Linjiang looked almost homeless. He pushed through the crowd toward the brightly lit stage. Wen Xinyan! His uncontrolled shout shattered the elegant atmosphere. Every guest turned around and cameras swung toward him. He got within 10 feet of the stage before security caught up and pinned his shoulders. Let me go! She's my wife! I need to talk to her! He pulled the crumpled divorce papers from his suit and waved them in front of everyone. You lived off the Jiang family for 7 years, then stole company secrets and gave them to our competitor. Jiang invested tens of millions in Homecoming, and you renamed it as yours. You're a thief. I'll ruin you. Cameras pointed at him and then at me. Xiaoman shrank behind me, frightened by his expression. I gently patted her shoulder to reassure her. I didn't rush to defend myself. I simply looked towards Selena and held out my hand. She was prepared and walked onto the stage carrying a black folder. I hate you. The 4 quiet words stopped Zhang Tingquan instantly. He never imagined the daughter who once chased him calling daddy would now look at him with fear and disgust. I took Xiaoman's hand and faced the room. Mr. Jiang, you're lying in front of this many reporters. Are you sure you want to continue? The music stopped and the giant screen changed. More than a dozen patents appeared for Metamorphosis, covering its structure, one-piece patterns, and clasp molds. Every core result was registered under my name. The earliest registrations were completed 3 years ago, long before Jiang Group ever launched its so-called new project. Zhang Tingquan stared as anger turned to panic. We were married, so I once let Jiang Group use some of my work. But permission to use it didn't mean you could steal my credit or hand my life's work to another woman. Without my designs and authorization, the Jiang Group you run is a joke. For 7 years, I licensed several designs to Jiang Group for free because we were husband and wife. But the day you took Homecoming and pushed me aside for Tang Weiwei, that relationship ended. Effective immediately, I terminate Jiang Group's right to use every design I own. Gasps filled the room. Overseas buyers who worked with Jiang Group immediately began whispering. Zhang Tingquan went pale. Without me, Jiang Group hadn't just lost Homecoming. Its old bestsellers were losing their foundation too. And since you keep calling me your wife, let's show everyone exactly how you treated your wife. The screen switched again. Wedding posters, photos of Zhang Tingquan kissing Tang Weiwei in the flowers, then years of bank transfers appeared. Jewelry, handbags, the estate, the wedding. Every expense was listed clearly. The crowd quickly understood. Disgusted whispers spread. You secretly married another woman using money earned from my designs, showered her with luxury, never apologized to me, then came to Paris and accused me of stealing from you. Zhang Tingquan, where do you get the nerve? Transaction after transaction crossed the screen as his face drained of color. Zhang Tingquan, You know exactly how much Jiang Group earned from my work over 7 years, and how little I ever received. You used money from my work to support Tang Weiwei, buy her bags and jewelry and throw her a wedding. And you still say I lived off you? You're the shameless one. The buyer's surprise turned to open disgust. Tang Weiwei knew nothing about patterns, leather, or construction, yet you gave her homecoming. Only after the samples failed, investors fled, and a billion-yuan penalty hit did you come looking for me. I tore away his final excuse in front of everyone. No! Tang Weiwei lied to me. She stole homecoming. I was confused. I was wrong. I shouldn't have believed her. No one but you can carry Jiang Group. Xinyan, you understand design better than anyone. Give me another chance. If you authorize Jiang Group again, I'll give you anything. Shares, the company, all of it. Now you want to talk about love? I designed for you and stood beside you through your worst years. You used my work to please another woman and sent Xiaoman and me to Paris so you could marry her. Your love makes me sick. When I refused to budge, Jiang Tingchuan suddenly looked at Xiaoman behind me. Xiaoman, I'm Daddy. Didn't you love Daddy most? Help me convince Mom. Let's go home together. I'll buy you the best toys. No, I'll buy the whole toy company and play with you every day. Xiaoman didn't move toward him. She wrapped both arms tightly around my leg. I don't want your things. I made you a wallet and you kicked it apart. I crawled around looking for the clasp and you never looked back. You promised to come get me, but now you're only here to yell at Mom. Xiaoman, Daddy was just really busy back then. Mom says a broken wallet can be remade, but you made Mom cry so many times that you can't be fixed anymore. I don't want a broken Daddy. I only want Mom. Media wearing interpretation headsets understood every word and erupted. The powerful CEO of Linjiang had just been rejected publicly by his own daughter. Every shred of dignity disappeared. The day you secretly planned a wedding, stole my credit, and tried to buy me off, we were done. I never touched the 13-14 million you transferred. I won't surrender what's mine and I won't take what's not. The divorce agreement is in your hands. Sign it or don't. But I will never go back with you, and I'll never draw another design for Jiang Group. I signaled security to remove him. Wen Xinyan, I'm your husband. Xiaoman is my daughter too. You can't be this heartless. His shouting faded away. Nobody defended him. Countless cameras simply recorded his final humiliation. 6 months later, Xiaoman and I sat at a sidewalk cafe. Sunlight covered the table, and fresh bread scented the air. She held a huge strawberry ice cream beside the little wallet we'd repaired. My phone buzzed with updates from a friend back home. After the Paris show, Jiang Group lost its core design rights. Investors and overseas buyers canceled orders, and a billion-yuan penalty finally crushed the company. The once busy headquarters was sealed, and every store closed. Jiang Tingchuan's villa, luxury cars, and shares were sold one after another to pay debts. With nowhere left to turn, he began begging the business partners who once surrounded him at parties. Mr. Zhou, we've worked together for years. Lend me something to get through this. Once Jiang Group recovers, I'll repay you double. Mr. Jiang, here's enough for a meal. Ms. Wen built Jiang Group for you and you hid her name for 7 years. Who would trust someone like you in business? Jiang Tingchuan stood there, his face shifting between red and pale, unable to argue. When he returned to the empty company, he discovered Tang Weiwei had taken the last available cash and the unreleased sample bags from the warehouse, then disappeared. At that moment, Tang Weiwei was wearing a hat and mask while dumping several samples onto an appraisal counter. These are Jiang Group's next season couture pieces. You can't buy them anywhere. Give me a price. I need cash today. Sorry, we don't take any of these. Look carefully. These are homecoming samples meant for the Paris show. Each one is worth hundreds of thousands. Exactly. They're homecoming. That's why no one wants them. Cracked handles, warped bodies, everyone knows these are Jiang Group's failed samples. Putting them in our store would damage our reputation. The color drained from Tang Weiwei's face. She never imagined the samples she'd recklessly altered to show off would now destroy her final escape route. Desperate, she messaged former socialite friends asking for money. Jiang Group is gone. You still think you're Mrs. Jiang? We only spoke to you because of Jiang Tingchuan. Now you're buried in debt. Stay away from us. The group quickly kicked her out. Tang Weiwei stared at the screen, shaking with rage. So the company's last money and assets were with you. Tang Weiwei turned stiffly. After 6 months, Jiang Tingchuan had lost all his former confidence. His suit was wrinkled and worn. I betrayed Xinyan for you. I lost my daughter and my company, and you still tried to steal the last of the money? Don't blame me. Did I force you to marry me behind your wife's back? Did I force you to steal Wen Xinyan's designs? You were greedy and obsessed with appearances. Now you've lost everything, and you want to blame me? Dream on. Didn't you say you loved me? Didn't you say you'd stay with me no matter what happened? I loved the CEO of Jiang Group. I loved your villa and luxury cars. Now you owe 1 billion yuan and can't even afford a decent meal. You want me to stay? Keep dreaming. Her words slapped him harder than anything. Staff responsible for liquidating Jiang Group's assets quickly arrived and blocked Tang Weiwei's path. Ms. Tang, Jiang Group's final funds and these samples disappeared without authorization. You'll need to come with us and explain. It wasn't me. Jiang Tingchuan gave me all of this. Ask him. Her shouting earned no sympathy. Jiang Tingchuan watched them take her away and suddenly remembered Xiaoman and me, the family he'd driven out. This time, nobody would come back to save him. My friend's final message said Tang Weiwei had been detained for taking company assets. Jiang Tingchuan sold everything but still owed massive debts. He now rented a tiny old apartment and worked as an entry-level salesman. In the end, he signed the divorce papers. I finished reading and casually deleted the chat. Mom, what happened to them? Nothing important. They're people who have nothing to do with us anymore. That winter, Paris held its annual Luxury Design Awards. Luxury cars lined the Grand Palais and global fashion media crowded the red carpet. I arrived with Selena, carrying the signature Metamorphosis bag. 7 years ago, I stepped away from the stage for Jiang Tingchuan. 7 years later, the whole world was waiting for my return. The ceremony reached its final and most anticipated award of the night. This year's most influential designer in the world, redefining modern luxury leather goods through metamorphosis, is the brilliant designer Wen Xinyan. Mom is the best. Thunderous applause erupted. I calmly stood and walked toward the stage under the eyes of hundreds of designers, buyers, and celebrities. The path was only a few dozen yards, but it had taken me 7 years. Ms. Wen, now that you've returned to the top, what would you like to say to women everywhere? I accepted the trophy and faced the camera beneath the lights. I hadn't prepared a speech. What came next was simply what I truly felt. Don't hide your own name because of an empty promise. Don't abandon your boundaries to save a broken relationship. What carries you through life isn't someone's promise, it's your own ability. If a relationship only drains you, leave. After a brief silence, the room erupted in applause. Many people stood with tears in their eyes. I raised the trophy as the lights illuminated a small, sharp silver clasp-shaped brooch on my chest. It was inspired by Xiaoman's broken wallet and became the first piece in a new collection I designed for myself. I named it Unbound. When the old clasp broke, I didn't lock myself back into the same place. I opened a new door with my own hands. Below the stage, Xiaoman smiled with flowers in her arms and Selena raised a glass to me. Every light and every eye belonged to Wen Xinyan. My era was only beginning.